Captain's Vlog Brew Date 004.
From the dusty mesa, her looming shadow grows, hidden in the branches of the poison creosote. She twines her spines up slowly towards the boiling sun, and when I touched her skin.
So welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. So today we're going to be doing another batch of this wax. We're desperately trying to get to work. So a summary of where we are. Our previous batch, Forensic Formula 003A and 3B, we were upping the solvent to get the product a little bit more, I guess, softer and more easy to distribute, and that worked. And I think we've definitely got a consistency of wax. You know, our blend of wax, carrier, and solvents that is somewhere around where it needs to be. That's being positive, I suppose. Maybe a little bit solvent heavy, not far off it, but pretty good. So, and I was doing a fair bit of testing with this wax, you know, and I'm always, whenever you put these waxes down, you always start off being really positive, thinking this is great and stuff. And, you know, I'm nowhere near where I need to be at the moment. We are just starting, unfortunately. And that dawned on me yesterday, which is not a great thought, but anyway, you've got to stay positive. Part of the fun is learning, not actually doing it. You know, if I could click my fingers and have the world's best wax in my hand, you know, then all the fun's gone. So yeah, so today we are going with Forensic Formula 004. So before we get to talking about all the ingredients in that, just what's been going on over the last couple of weeks. So there's been a lot of people making contact, which has been fantastic. A lot of people making contact through the YouTube channel and through Facebook. And a lot of people with expertise have been making contact, which is great. And that's positive. But the bad thing is they're telling me I'm doing lots of things wrong. So yeah, I'm doing lots of things wrong. My brewing technique is not good. Okay, so that's one cool thing we've got. Is one of the guys who commented in the channel sent me a link to this pot, which is $12.99, the Wax Star. So it's a good little entry-level way of safely heating up your waxes. I haven't used it yet. We're going to use it for this brew. So that means we don't have to go to the secret offshore forensics laboratory. We can stay in the garage. So we're going to be doing that in a second. Okay, yeah, so I am blending these waxes like a clown, basically. Some tips I've been given. Do not bother trying to heat these solvents up, okay? Even in a pan of hot water away from any naked flames, obviously. I keep making that point. But it's not worth doing. As I raise the temperature of them, apparently, unless I put them in a glass jar, but even there, they're gonna be more prone to evaporating. What I've been told to do is just mix the solvents into the hot wax, and do it in very small quantities. Don't just tip the whole load of my solvent mix in there, because it will suddenly drop the temperature down, okay, which I've seen. And I was trying to solve it by heating the solvents up, but a better method is just put a little bit of solvent in at a time, mix that in, allow the temperature to get back where it needs to be to keep the wax melted above 75, a little bit more till I've got a complete blend. Okay, so that's the first tip I've given. When I'm pouring the waxes out, I also need to stagger the pours, so I don't just pour it into the pot. I need to pour a little bit in. I was sort of told pour a quarter of it in, wait, let that settle down, pour another half of it in, wait, let that settle down, pour another quarter of it in. And that's to avoid the souffle effect, where the outside goes hard and the inside is still soft, you know, so you literally get you get the outside cooling and the inside's still hot, and that creates a differential which you don't want apparently. So that's another thing that I've got to try and do. Well, what I also been told by a few people is do not shock cool the wax in cold water or ice water. You do not need to do that. It won't help. It'll cause more problems than it will solve. Which is interesting because I don't know anything about this. You know, I heard somewhere that was a good thing to do, so I did it. But apparently it's not. So you just let it cool on its own. The key thing is getting a good pure mix. So okay, so that's what I'm going to try and work on in this one. Okay, so another thing I've been told, the solvents I'm using. So basically I was told, don't use white spirit, the oderless white spirit that I started with. I stopped using that after 002 brew, I think, because it stunk. And it was stunk too strong, and it was like even though some of those other waxes I've got, commercial waxes, have got a strong solvent smell, nothing that heavy. And also the mineral white spirit will also evaporate at room temperature too quickly. It's not a very good thing for making waxes with. So we've shifted over to oderless keresene on the 003, which is better, but I was still told that not many commercial waxes are using oderless keresene. It's better, but it still does, well, the smell isn't so much of a problem, but basically what I was told was use one of these a solvent that's used in more of the commercial waxes, with an 80-degree flash point, the point at which the vapours coming off of the solvent will ignite under a raw flame, so 80 degrees. So that is the solvent that apparently is being used in most commercial waxes. Now, unfortunately, you can't go and buy that. You can't go and buy that in small quantities, okay? You need to go and buy barrels of the stuff, or a barrel of it, 25 litres or something like that. It's going to cost you way too much money. You might do it if you were brewing these, or you will be. If you're making a lot of wax, you'd need a barrel of it. But you can get it. There's a product that's been brought out by a company that you'll have heard of, Chem, that they make a hell of a lot of automotive detailing products, and they make they engineer them, is probably the right word. They do the chemical engineering themselves, so they've got chemists and stuff like that. They formulate products. They will sell you a solvent called Phase that is very suitable for using in up to commercial standard waxes, and is used in commercial standard waxes, and they sell it in small quantities, 500 millilitres or 1 litre. Bingo, you can get a good solvent. So if you're doing this, the best place to go, Chem, Google them. They're the UK, Chem Co UK, I suspect, and just Google on their Phase in their search, in the Chem search thing, put in Phase and you'll see it. So some of that is on its way. So hopefully I'm going to be getting a much better solvent to use for this. So that was a great tip. I got told that the carriers I'm using are pretty good. Coconut oil, fine. Almond oil, fine. And you can play around with those to your heart's content, But I was told to try some boiled linseed oil in there as well, apparently, because it's good for the gloss, the visual side of it. So I'm going to incorporate that in the next brew. So carriers, yeah, coconut oil, boiled linseed oil, almond oil. Some of them you can also, someone suggested, some of the high-end waxes are using exotic kind of oils like strawberry oil and kiwi oil that are a lot more expensive. So that's something that I'm just going to think about and maybe have a play around with later on. But for the time being, my oils are doing the job and the ratios seem okay. So, the oils, I can play around with those a little bit more later on. One other thing, and I'm just going to, so yeah, when I started on the first video, I bought some of this because I'd read great things about this. So this is orange zest solvent. It's good as a solvent, but it's got some carrier properties as well. So this is called, the chemical name for this, I believe, is d-limosene. And I haven't been using it yet. It's one of the things on the hit list to do. But someone gave me a tip to put a tad of this in, around about 1%, less than 1%, and it will help. It will help with not so much the look of it, which is why I got it, because I thought it was supposed to help with the appearance of the wax, but how the wax comes off of the paint when you're buffing it off. So I'm going to put some of that in. So that's d-limosene. Okay, the other things to talk about, I was toying with the idea of putting a product in there called titanium dioxide, okay, which is a highly refractive, apparently one of the most refractive, elements, or it's not an element, is it? One of the most refractive chemical products, whatever it is, you can see how little I don't know, that you can get. Which sounds great. It's like having kryptonite in your wax. So it's supposed to be used apparently in some commercial waxes to really give you that reflection. So there's me hearing that keyword and going out and Googling it and like going, yeah, I can get some of that. Brilliant. Not having a clue what I'm doing. So someone told me titanium dioxide, its melting point is like God knows what. You need to transport this stuff to the sun and back to melt it and get it in your product. So it'd be like me tipping in an abrasive almost into my wax. It's not going to break down how I need it to. So I can't use titanium dioxide, unfortunately. So that's been blown out of the water. Same principle with PTFE, Teflon. I wanted to look into using that, but for a home brew, you can't get it, as far as I know. If anyone knows anything about this, just let me know. This is anything you tell me is going to get circulated. So if you're not interested in putting it out there, don't tell me. So, but yeah. So what I've been told, titanium dioxide and PTFE are things you can't really use or incorporate into a homebrew wax. Liquid silicone that I put into my last one, I've been told that you can use that, and that will provide hydrophobicity. That's why I put it in there. But I'm using, again, this is the old gorilla Breaking Bad chemistry for me. I just went and looked for the liquid silicone and the grade that I got. The important thing with liquid silicone is the viscosity, how thick it is apparently. This is great, I'm learning loads of stuff here. And the stuff I bought was too thin, that's why it was cheap. So to make it worthwhile using, I have to use a higher viscosity. Something maybe like 800 or 1000, I've been told. So I'm going to be looking to source some of that and put a small amount in, less than 1% really, to start off with, to try and get some more hydrophobic stuff going on here, because that's going to be important as well. Because I think now, there's cleverer people than me, and that's not hard, that many years ago went out and played around with all this stuff, and are probably were going through and doing what I'm doing in a more scientific way, with more knowledge, with more resources, with probably more people. And this was probably 30 years ago they were doing this stuff. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. So nowadays I think it's moved on a little bit, and you've got a lot of these synthetic, we say synthetic, but you've got a lot of these products in these, a lot of other components in these products apart from just natural waxes. And the aim of those products is, as well as providing the refractive, the optical kind of qualities that you're looking for in a wax, which is a more subjective thing, they are providing the hydrophobic qualities, and the detailing world can't get enough of hydrophobicity, the amount of shots of beads and stuff. So I want some of that, unfortunately. I wasn't a hydrophobicity kind of guy, but I think I need to be, because if my wax isn't beading nicely, people aren't going to like it. And I want this to be a decent thing, Okay, so that's the liquid silicone thing. Right, that was the news in terms of what's going on. One other thing actually, so you can see over behind me a big pile of detailing sprays. There's about 20 there, okay? There's about another 20 on their way, and we're going to be doing, so I did the detailing spray video thing on YouTube, which was great, you know. But there is a magazine in the UK that you've probably heard of called the Professional Detailers Magazine, and I do blind testing. I'm one of many blind testers, so they send me some products and I test them. The guy that runs this does mega tests, you know, did mega tests on shampoos and all that sort of stuff. He wants to do a mega test on detailing sprays because I already had a sort of 15 of them for my video, but he's going mega, so he's going up to 40, and he's buying all of the ones up that other people recommended that weren't in my video that needed to be there. So we're just getting those products in, and then we're going to do a lot of testing on some of these detail sprays. And the guy doing it was really interested in categorising them a bit more clearly, making sure that, because there are some differences in these products. To be fair, these products don't define themselves very well, the whole detailing spray genre. And there is a lot of variation in what's in these products chemically, and we'll go into that a bit more for this next review. So if you don't know of the PVD magazine, there it is, and I'll put a link to where you can buy it. Again, I'm not associated to it, and I don't get any money if you go and buy this. It's quite cheap. It's only a couple of quid, I think, £3 or something, £3.50. There's 2 issues. The first issue is sold out now, and you can't get those for love nor money. Apparently, there's a few of the second issue kicking around, so they are good as well. They are really good if you're into detailing. If you like my videos, you will like the contents of these magazines, because the articles are written by some very, very good detailers, professional detailers, and not just detailers, people that run these companies that are producing you know, all of the brands that you've heard of. So there's lots of expertise in here, way beyond anything I'm doing. So PVD magazine. Okay. Blend number 4. What the whole reason we're here. So this is a kind of in-between blend till I get my phase product, my proper solvent, my high quality solvent from Chem. That's on its way. Oh, also I've ordered some Montan wax from them and paraffin wax. This Chem guys on their website, the only people I could find, although some people sent me some links for Alibaba and some other stuff and some other wax producers, but they weren't small guy friendly from what I could see. But if you go to the Chem site, they will sell you small quantities of Montan wax, paraffin, T1 canubra, and beeswax in pellets, not the big lumps I've got, because that will cause you a problem. So really, that would have been a good tip for me, to just go there straight away. So there's a big tip for you. Chem, if you're home brewing, they sell you pretty much everything you need. Apart from, maybe they sell carriers. I don't know about carriers, but most of my carriers, you know, like the almond oil and stuff, I found from other providers. I don't know if they do carriers, but check out their site. Okay, so blend number 4. We are going NUBA. I'm getting better. 12. Remember, this is what we're actually making. Okay, this is not per 100. So this is what we're actually making. It's a little bit skewed. 12 grams of NUBA. 2 grams of beeswax, so we're staying with that foundation of the wax. 5 grams of coconut oil, 5 grams of boiled linseed oil, 8 grams of almond. So we're going 18 grams in total of carrier oil, staying the same, but introducing boiled linseed oil, halving the coconut oil. With the solvent, we're going to go 18 grams of oderless keresene for this brew, and 4 grams of petroleum. I'm dropping that by 1 gram, okay? And then in its place, I'm going to be putting 1 gram of d-limosene. So those lists of grams doesn't quite translate to 50 grams, so you can't double them to get your percentages. But you know, that's I can calculate them all as a percentage if you really want. But that's what it is. Okay, so overall 14 wax, 18 carrier, and 25 solvent. Okay, let's brew this up. Right, so that's about right. Okay, so the great thing about working like this with this thing is, you know, you pop it in, are we on? And you turn it on up, you know, I'm not going to go full whack, and you leave it hopefully for about 15 minutes for all the slop to melt down. So yeah, it's so much easier. Oh, I feel sorry for the staff at the offshore forensics laboratory. They're going to be out of work. Yeah. Right. So now we're going to mix up our solvents and carriers. In fact, there's no reason because why we can't put the carriers in with the wax, because they're not going to gas out. So maybe, yeah, maybe they can go in there as well. Let's get those. Right. So let's tear that. So what did we say with these? So we're going 5 grams of coconut oil. Oh, too much. There we go. Another thing I have noticed is these scales could be a bit more accurate. The old JML ones are a bit budget, but you know, we're doing this on a shoestring. Yeah, I mean, I think an accurate set of scales is probably one thing that it's going to help. So what do we say? 8 grams of this stuff. So we're on 5. So we go up to 13. Yep. A little bit too much, which is one thing you definitely don't want to do with these oils. But, there we go. 13. Bang. Perfect. Okay. And then 5 grams of this stuff. Get in there. So that's to 18, 16, 18. Perfect. Right, so they can go in, can't they? Why can't they? I can't think of any reason why they couldn't go in. So let's put those in there. There we go. So we're going to let that lot melt down. This is just gently heating our product. You don't have to do anything. I'm not going to take the lid off and poke it around. I'm just going to leave it to melt. Okay guys, so we're nearly there. Camera's struggling with the focus, but now that wax, it just needs there's a little bit of the last white oils that are just breaking down, but it's pretty much liquid form now, so I'm just going to give it a little stir. I want this fully dissolved. Yeah, that's pretty good. Sorry, I'm using the camera viewfinder as my view on this, and that's never a good way to work. So that's fully dissolved. Okay, so what we want to do, I really need to, what I'm going to do is just set the camera up so I can do this, because I need 2 hands. So this is going to be the game changer from what I've been doing before, is I'm able to keep this wax hot. So I'm going to just lower this down. Actually, let's just keep it where it is. Actually no, let's lower it down because we don't want to overcook this. So hopefully that will keep it above 75. Alright, so here's my solvents, and I've given these a good mixing up. And what I'm going to do is just put them in in 3 milligram squirts. Now, let's see, can you see in there? Yeah, you can, right. Let's see what happens with this. Interesting. So it's cooling it. It's definitely cooling it when that solvent hits it. You can see that? Let's have a look. Yeah, you can see that. But hopefully now, that will just melt down. Yeah, it is, look. That's better. This is what we want. Okay, let's do this reasonably quickly. So that's that first batch done. So I want this, keep this hot actually. I want this to sort of insta dissolve. Right, stir her in. Actually, let's use the wooden one. So yeah, it's when that solvent makes contact with that wax, it drops the temperature, and bang, that car NUBA drops below 75 and starts reforming as a solid. I sound like a proper chemist then, didn't I? In other words, it goes cold. Right. And in we go. And we stir. I can see why you do not want your solvents to be disappearing. That's why that white spirit was no good as well. I want to just stick to this method and not fall into the trap of trying to chuck too much in too quickly, because if I, well, yeah, just for this one time I'm going to take this nice and slow. So there, we're back down to a liquid. I do not want any chunks of wax in this. I want this to be really smooth. Right. Lovely. Also, I'm lowering the temperature of it there. It's kicked in the old. Right. Ooh, big bit there. Okay. Sort of thinking ahead. Just thinking of how am I going to get this out of here? How am I going to pour? This pot's not a great thing for pouring, is it? But it should be alright. Right, I've got enough here. I can just tip that in. That's it. So let's just let that break down. We've got a good temperature there. And what I want to do, bear with me. Make sure that's nothing in there. The solvent's not going to hurt, but it's looking clear. So now we are going to try this pouring thing, and we are going to, let's get that wax off there first. Okay, what we're going to try and do is pour a quarter of this into there and see how we get on. I'm supposing that's going to be hot, is it? Oh no, we've got a plastic handle here. So, the plastic handle is not hot at all really. So I think, oh, if we twist, what is that for? Is that for resting your spoon up against or something? So one design flaw of this thing I can see is it's not really been designed for pouring out stuff. So I'm just thinking if there's any better way of doing it. I think we're just going to have to go for this. I'm worried. Can you see this? Yeah, I'm worried when I pour from here to here, it's going to go everywhere. Well, let's see. So I want to do a quarter. I want to do a quarter first. So here we go. Right. That's all right. Actually, it didn't all go tipping down the side. It's good. It's not great, but it's okay. It didn't go everywhere. You know, when sometimes you're tipping stuff, and it all just runs out the edge and then runs down the side of the thing and then drips everywhere. So that's all right. You know, look at that. I really want to get. I'm going to bring the camera in over here. This is much better. This is so much better than any of the other ones I've made. Well, you know, in terms of the brewing. Jesus, I think we're going from the. We've gone from the douchebag age to the scumbag age in one fell swoop. So this machine, Jesus, that's the biggest tip someone could have given me, is get one of these machines straight away. I mean, you can do it with the old boiling water and stuff, but this is so much easier and safer. So just looking at this, so it's just starting to cool down now. There will be no point in me throwing, I'm going to turn this wax down a little bit. There'd be no point in me throwing the rest of it in there right now. I want this to solidify enough. What we don't want, I guess, we don't want to chuck it all in there and then the outsides go cool and the inside stays soft, because I think that causes all sorts of cracking and all that sort of stuff. I mean, this vessel is not very good either. I probably need to go and buy a load of those aluminium things. In fact, this little mini tins, like sample tins, either 30 to 50 milligram tins. So yeah, it's starting to do the thing. No, don't do that. Just let it boil on its own. And let it cool down on its own. I'm just going to bring you in and show you what it's looking like. So I'm about to do my second layer now. So we're going for a quarter. Let's just get that zoomed in. There we go. Quarter, a half, a quarter, which is a bit hard to approximate when you're doing it like this. But anyway, well, that's interesting. Let's give that a little stir. Something's just gone a little bit misty in there. That must be the first thing that's going to solidify on me, is going to be the NUBA, isn't it? That must be. So if I drop that down, I get close to 75, which is interesting. So I'm just cranking that back up again, but it's fine. I mean, it's still, look, you can see it, can't you? It's all liquid, but it's just that little misting. And I think, actually, you know what? That would be what's going to make it grainy, isn't it? So I want this completely dissolved when I do my pour. So let's crank our heat back up. I bet that's what makes it grainy. When the NUBA starts just gets to the stage where it starts going back into its solid wax form, it's going to start going grainy. Or is it us losing the solvents when we're heating them? It's interesting. Maybe a bit of both. Okay, it's still liquid, so that should be good to pour. So that's about half. Probably more likely did about 40%, 40%, 20%. So I need to lower that down a little bit because I want to do 25, 50, 25 in the, when I stagger the pour. Get the camera to lock on. There we go. So what I want to do is just show you this. So in terms of quality, this has really come on leaps and bounds. Now when I was doing my pours, like my staggered pours, when I put the third and final one in, I didn't wait quite long enough. And the middle layer was like had a layer of wax that was just cooling, but below it was molten wax. When I poured the last layer on, it melted that. So just had this little kind of divot appear there. So that's something I'll need to watch out for, because obviously when you're making these, you want to get like a nice perfect lump of wax. You don't want anyone to come in and dunk their applicator in there and to have any sort of collapsing going on. But the biggest thing I can say, and I'm trying to get this here, is this wax, the smoothness of it. From melting it this way, the first thing I can say is the graininess really disappears out of the wax. So whatever you're doing, heating it in the glass jar or whatever, in the boiling water, gives me a really grainy wax even though it's melted. Whereas this gives me a really smooth wax, okay? So what I want to do, I've got one of my JML budget halfway across the world. It's actually not too bad, but a bit rough, but applicator. So I'm just going to show you that. Let's just have a look at it and just pull some of it off. So actually, just going to use my finger first. So it's hard. That's interesting. Yeah, so it's a lot harder than the other ones. So that's really interesting. So a lot harder. This is more candle. This is rock hard. Jesus. That's interesting. So why is this so much harder? I wonder. That's really interesting. This is rock hard. So So that would suggest that that I've got less solvent acting on this. You're going to try and take this out. There we go. Look at that. That, you could play ice hockey with this bad boy. Jesus Christ. That's fucking rock hard. Okay, there is not much point me dicking around testing this, because this is no use to man or beast, you know. Just thinking what I could do with that. Not much. Oh, there's a bit of give there. Right in the middle there's a bit of give. That's about it. Wow, that's really strange. So if anybody out there knows why, with roughly the same ratios, I've gone from a really greasy soft wax, how I wanted it, not really greasy, but how I wanted it, to like a bloody Wortherman's toffee crisp. You know, it's like a Wortherman's, this. Wortherman's original. I don't know if they still make those. So what the hell's done that? Okay, we're going to call that a day. But there's some real positives here. Okay, so I've got a problem with the ratios, but the standard of the mix, you know, is just so nice. And no matter how hard this is, there's no graininess to it, which is great. So I'm really positive about getting a much better quality of brews now, quicker as well, with less hassle, you know. But I need to obviously have a long think about what's gone wrong here. Okay, over and out for today.